Hello and welcome to this episode of Agape Ministries that I call How to Survive This Crisis. I decided to take you outdoors so you can enjoy this view at least virtually, and especially if you're stuck at home and have a plan of action, what to do next. Folks, the purpose of this ministry is to give you clarity in thinking and preparation of what to expect next. So Vietnam War was a false flag operation. If you do your research, nobody attacked anybody. It was just a group of people that internally decided to start a war for economic reasons, because it's very profitable, very, very profitable to have a war in the Western Hemisphere. In the East, people defend themselves. In the West, to build the rockets, to use the rockets, the industry is booming. It's another way of looking at life. So the more rockets are flying somewhere far away, missiles are used, the more profitable it is for the military-industrial complex. So then we have, you name it, any event you take, the 2007 and 8 financial crisis, very similar situation. Somebody profited, wealth transfer took place at that time. It was based on the subprime mortgage faulty papers, but in the end, a small group of people benefited tremendously to the tune of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Now we have a very similar situation 10 years later that they tell the masses, when I say they, the establishment, the very few, the select, who are at the helm of the economic machine in the West, in the United States specifically. They told the masses to wear the masks, stay at home. The masses could not worship their God. And what's next, folks? This is apocalyptic times. So we're actually looking at the time when they say, well, second coming of Christ, he's coming. It is already happening. The purpose of this ministry is to open your eyes and prepare you for the next catastrophic event that will happen very soon. So, will there be World War III? It has already begun. This is the biological and economic form of World War III. Will there be massive devastation? Yes. On the west coast of California, there'll be earthquakes and volcanoes that will be erupting that will essentially separate California from the rest of the country, which will be tremendously more damaging than 2 buildings that fell on 9/11, which was another false flag operation. Because if you don't know, building number 7 fell on its own by itself without being hit by anything. If you've never heard, go on Google and just research building number 7. That's all you have to type in. It was a third tallest building, skyscraper on the plaza after the Twin Towers. And it collapsed a few hours after the Twin Towers collapsed. It was accidentally caught on camera, and that's what you're going to see on YouTube, when a reporter accidentally caught the building collapse on itself by itself. And obviously all the professional demolition experts say that to make that happen, you have to pre-wire that large of a building at least 6 months to a year prior to that event. It takes a lot of coordination and effort. In other words, it was pre-planned at least a year in advance. So that's your answer. Who did the planning and how that building fell? And if you've never even heard of it, then they don't want you to know about it. They, the establishment, the elites, people who run the global economies, the global banking system, they don't want you to know. I'm here to actually shed some light on that, on all of these and those past events and future events that are coming. So wearing the masks, folks, is just the beginning. It's nothing. The vaccination is part 2. Somebody's making money, somebody's controlling the population, somebody's pre-planning the shrinking of the population. It's all part of this one big plan that is unfolding in front of our eyes. And my heart's desire is for your eyes to be opened. I know you're saying you're awake, but you're not. You're more than likely are asleep if you're not understanding my language here about building number 7. The Vietnam War was a false flag operation, or 9/11 was all pre-planned, or the 2007 and 8 financial crisis was all perfectly orchestrated. And this crisis, this so-called COVID-19, what a name, I tell you, they pick. If you don't quite follow what I'm saying, that means you're not awake, you're asleep. And I'm here to try, the purpose here is to try to wake you up to the reality that everything is not as what it seems to be, as it appears to you through your television lens. When you watch the news, or when you hear about the news, or when your friends or family tell you, it is not. There is the sort of a biblical perspective, and there is the otherworldly perspective. And at the age of 5, I happened to, essentially, I'll tell you a quick story, to go on the other side. We were driving in the mountains, we stopped, me and my parents obviously were driving in a car. We stopped for a pit stop. I walked outside, and I was absorbed by this other reality. I went into what appeared to be a multi-dimensional reality, where I was able to ask questions and receive answers at the speed of light. There was no delay. It was faster than the telepathic communication. It was faster than anything you can imagine. So I've asked all the questions that any adult would ask. The fact that I was 5 years old, I believe, allowed me to have access to that reality. Remember what Jesus said, unless you humble yourselves and become like these little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. So having that innocence allowed me to, I believe, somehow to gain access to that parallel reality. And I believe those entry points are everywhere, not just somewhere in the mountains. I just happen to just somehow be allowed to gain access to that reality. But I believe they're all around us. We walk through them, but we never walk into them. And they're everywhere. And it's not easy to summarize in a human language, but the language that was used on the other side appears to be mathematics. It's purely mathematical kind of formulation of things. For instance, the spiral shape of our galaxy, the way our hair grows, the way the water kind of flows through in a swirling fashion, and our DNA helix. The sunflower seeds are located in a very, very unique pattern. Everything kind of follows that mathematical formula that the creator of the universe has set up. It's sort of his way of expressing it, and only mathematics could describe it. No human language. The language I use right now, folks, is absolutely it's the poorest expression of the divine thought. It's terrible. It's terrible. The words are very, very, very limiting and limited in describing our reality, in describing the creator of the universe, in describing what is about to happen. But I'm going to break this mold and try to tell you what is to happen. I'm going to break the mold and tell you, exactly, as I'm taking a walk here, I'm going to tell you exactly what is to come, what is to happen. So first thing first, now, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, volcanic eruptions, and you have to be prepared that cash very soon will be abolished. It will be made illegal. So when they abolish cash, electronic form of payments will be the only thing that will be accepted. So is electronic passport, where you will be stamped whether or not you have a vaccine. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, you would not be allowed to travel or perhaps even buy groceries. At some point, if you're not vaccinated, you will not be able to integrate into society, into this economic marketplace that we have. So what is the solution? You must simply pray and be prepared. Pray, 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 and be prepared for this event. It's unfolding as we speak. Yes, there will be great devastation economically. Yes, now we're experiencing this economic and biological warfare that is happening on our planet. It's a new form of warfare. It's not dropping bombs anymore. It's a more primitive way. It's telling you to wear masks. And there's nothing you can do. How are you going to argue with that? It's like a snakish way of approaching it. They picked a topic that is very hard to sort of refute unless you've been pre-planning what they're about to introduce. So you have to, where you would be prepared, but nobody was prepared. Now I'm telling you, new things are coming, new tricks are coming, new tricks of the devil are being prepared, so you would be ready for what's to come. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, economic collapse, further economic collapse on a global scale. And the only solution there is to say, help us God. This is where in the Bible it says people at that time will be crying up to the mountains and saying, fall on us and hide us from the face who's to come, because it's unbearably difficult. It would be unbearably difficult to survive that particular phase in our human history. So what are we to do? If you can, build a compound somewhere out of concrete, if you can, or unite with some neighbors and build a compound jointly where you have like a little duplex. You and your neighbor build a compound together, not just your regular but off the grid compound where you have your own mini wastewater system, treatment plant and facilities. You have solar panels. You have your own safety zone where if God forbid something serious happens, you will be safe, you and your family. If you can do that, that would be something very productive. But beyond that, there's no more. This is it, folks. This is it. We have arrived. So be prepared, be vigilant, and the rest is in God's hands. I'm only here relaying the message, some of what I've learned on the other side. And as always, my benediction, may God bless you, keep you safe, send His angels to guard you and protect you in everything you do. And most importantly, I truly hope to see you on the other side, at the very top. Take care, God bless. Be safe.